Okay. Oh, good. It's coming from both speakers now. Hopefully that fixed it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm back anyway, so hopefully that fixed it. Looks like it did. That's really annoying when it only comes from one speaker. All right. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about. Man, this microphone. I lost my thing. I think I threw it away because it was getting old. I need to make a new one out of better stuff. All right. I'm going to go for it, though. Maybe I could. Oh, nope. Well, maybe. Huh? Okay, maybe that'll help. This is really weird. Okay. I'll try that. So I'm just going to not worry about it, and we're just going to go try and play the game and see what we got here. So like I said, we've got a lot of changes, a lot of good things to talk about. It's been a long time, and I think it's been like 2 weeks pretty much since we've updated. So we've got a lot in here, and I'm going to try to make this a longer stream to catch you guys up and to give people a chance to find out that I'm streaming, because I think it sends the emails out if you're following me, but I think it does it really late, like it takes a million years to send it out. So I'll try and talk about everything. And again, if you have any questions, ask them, and we'll talk about it. Whatever you guys want to talk about. So the first thing that we haven't been here for a long time, so we've got a lot to catch up on. The first thing that we have to catch up on is the new weapons that we've been adding, particularly the greatsword. I have. There's a guy with a greatsword. So it's kind of weird because I don't have the. You'll notice their animation states break a little bit in this. If you see them, because they're supposed to always be carrying that over their shoulder, but they don't do it. It's fixed in the Steam build. I just didn't get the changes to that. The other programmer, he's the one who edited it, so I haven't got that. So anyway, we're going to start out talking about all the changes. So we've been working on the balancing patch, and the values that you start with are different. You now start out with 100 health, 70 stamina, and 85 ichor. Ichor might not have changed, but you do start out with more health, and the values on all the weapons are going to be different now. And we're still finishing off the final touches to the balancing patch, but I'm actually going to go through, and I might have actually screwed up my main quest too. So if I screwed up that, that's okay too. But I'm going to go through, and I'm going to try and like kill the Necro boss and show you guys some of the new things. But basically what we've been working on is adding in new. All right, so let me just explain how all this works. So right here, you can hopefully see that the name of this is an iron sword. It's a one-handed sword, and that's the type that it is. Like it is a long sword. And then the damage, as you see, we're adding in a few more, or I have on mine. It might not make it into the final build, but I'm adding in like a lot of digits. So you can see, so if you can't read it, it says the damage is 12.648, and then the quality is crude, and the condition is coarse. So it has a quality and a condition to it. And all the weapons have this. So you're looking at this damage 22 on this iron greatsword, quality, crude, condition, coarse. And right now you'll probably only find a crude, quality, coarse, condition weapon. But as you go on through the game, and as you well, this is what I was saying when I said that the crafting system is going to come in here pretty easily, because what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to smith your weapons, and you'll be able to raise their condition from like coarse to maybe, I think the next one is average or whatever, but you'll be able to raise the condition through, you'll be able to just find a weapon in better condition, or you'll be able to improve the condition through smithing it, and improving the condition improves the damage. And we won't have a system in where your weapons will break. Like, you'll never just break your weapons. But we're thinking we're probably going to add in a system where as you use them, the condition degrades a little bit, and you might lose some damage, but you won't ever lose all of it, and your weapon won't break. But we're just thinking about that. So even if you're not here to talk about that, or if you are here to talk about that, or if you're watching the video, then maybe we can start a discussion about that on the forums on what you guys, how you guys feel about repairing weapons, and you know what needs to be done in that, what makes it good. So anyway, we changed some of the animations, or got some of the animations a little better. Animations play a big role in the balancing of the weapon, how powerful it is, and so the longsword, because it does so much damage, like here it does, this thing does 12.5 damage and the longsword does 22 damage. I mean, it's nearly double the damage. So it has to have, now there's a few, you know, downsides to it. It takes both hands to use it, so you can't have a shield. And it takes a lot more stamina to swing it, and it's slower to swing. And the power attack does even more damage, but it has a long wind-up and a pretty decent cooldown as well. So we're trying to balance the weapons through the animations, and that will be an ongoing process until we get, it just the way we want it. So look for those changes. But with the balancing patch, there's even more than just the values that got tweaked. So I'm going to use the longsword because it's pretty sweet. That guy got me. See, the longsword is not, or the greatsword, I mean. There's a lot there, you know. I'm not very good with them, but some people are a lot better. I think actually the better way to do it with these weaker guys is just to keep swinging it at them. Man, they keep going around, and then you can eventually get them. I think it just takes 2 hits to kill them. So I think the balancing patch overall made the game a little easier, a little more approachable, and it certainly made it a little easier to understand what's going on with your character. You have more life compared to them now, which I think is good. Before you just had a little too little life, too few hit points. But now I think it's a little better. And I'm actually going to go down. I need to do this today. I need to write this down, but I'll just remember. I haven't adjusted the vial to give you an appropriate amount of health for the new starting health that you have. So I got to do that. Yeah, we still have this in here. This is going to change pretty soon, though. We don't want you to just start out with all the shards. We have a couple of good ideas on how we're going to get them to you. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. Okay. Is the sound balance okay as far as like the game volume isn't too loud compared to the microphone volume, is it? Because I hate it when I do that. So if it's all screwed up, then let me know. Actually, whoops. My animations on this are like messed up, so I know that the animation problems are fixed on the real build, though, so they're just on my build right now. I haven't gotten all those changes yet, so I'll get them though. So if you see animation problems, they're fixed on the other build. But anyway, there is more. So I talked a little bit about crafting, and that should be able to come in pretty soon with how that I have to do another menu, make a new menu for it, and do a few other things, so that could take a while in order to get that fully implemented. Oh, okay, the audio is good, it sounds like. So it could take a little while for that to get fully implemented on the crafting, but I think that's how I want to do it, where you would have to go mine some, like, we're going to start out with the iron weapons, like the iron greatsword, and we're going to make a new model for even just the iron longsword. And we're going to have an iron, so the weapons that we want in right now, you're going to have the greatsword, the longsword, the axe, the mace, the spear, and the hammer. I think that's 6 weapons. And maybe the staff, if there's an iron staff, maybe. When we get around to magic, we'll probably do that. And so those will be the main like weapons that you start out with. And we're going to get all those in eventually when we can make them, and I might, yeah, like they're in as placeholders. They're not quite like, they're in as placeholders, so they're not quite, yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll get models for them is really what I mean. But anyway, so what I was going to say, that will lead into the crafting system. You'll go and you'll like mine some iron maybe from one of the places that we have here, and we've done a lot of map work. I'll show you that, and then you'll be able to take the iron and maybe like a few other resources that you'll be able to gather, and then you'll be able to use those to increase the condition of your weapon. And oh, here's another thing that you can probably see. You can see now I've used my greatsword for long enough now that the damage went from, so it's still 22, but in parentheses next to it you see plus 0.1. And that damage is the damage that's contributed to my weapon from my skill. So now that's shown, so you can actually see if a weapon is going to do more damage. And yeah. Oh, another change that came in, which I haven't demonstrated, is you have the normal attacks on your left mouse click and your power attacks on your right. The power attacks do more damage, and each weapon has a specific modifier to it. I believe, so the longsword went from doing 22 damage, and then just there it did 30 damage. I think it's like 1.4 or 1.5. Let's see. Well, 5 would be half. That'd be 11 more, so it's not that big. It might be like 1.3 or 1.4. I don't know. But it has a modifier, and each weapon has its own like damage modifier. And that's going to be one of the attributes of the weapon that you like. So maybe you just like the attacks that go, over and over, back and forth. And you just rely on the reliable straight damage that you can do with it, and that's good. But some weapons, they will have maybe a somewhat poor base damage, but then their critical modifier or their power attack modifier might be really high, so you'll want to rely mostly on the power attack. Hopefully that makes sense. And that kind of leads me to my next thing about the balancing patch and iron weapons. So we're going to get in the iron weapons, and the iron weapons are going to act as sort of the they're going to be like the standard, the metric off of which other weapons are like judged, I guess, or how we balance them. And so in the game, it's probably impossible to make like a weapon that's just like, there'll probably be weapons that are just better than others, I'm sure, but we're going to try to balance all the standard weapons and all weapons based off of iron weapons. And so a steel longsword might not necessarily be always better than an iron longsword. It might be better in some ways, but it will be worse in some ways. So like, and it won't necessarily always be so here's what I'm trying to say. So you get a steel greatsword and you compare it to your iron greatsword. Well, maybe the steel greatsword has a lower base damage, but it has a higher critical attack or a higher power attack thing. So, maybe if you really rely on doing power attacks, then maybe steel weapons in general have higher power attacks, and they trade that with a little bit of lower damage. Or maybe steel is a little bit lighter than iron, and that's another factor. The weight of this thing. This weighs 15, but maybe your steel one might weigh 13 or whatever, and it has other thing, and it has less weight, and then the higher criticals, and that makes up for the lower base damage. And then there might be another type, like for instance the Valarin set, that's made out of like copper and another type of metal, and it might have its own attributes on what it's good at and what it's not good at. And it will be not necessarily better or worse than iron, but it will just be, it'll just be something, I guess, that you'll have to make that choice you'll have to make that choice on what your play style is. And you'll be able to find the weapons that fit how you attack and how you behave. And, maybe you really like maces and you really like to do power attacks with maces. So you've got to go and find the mace that does the best power attack and the best weight ratio. And maybe you want to be really light or whatever. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to create like sets of weapons that sort of have something for anybody's, like the way that their build should work in their head. They should be able to find that build in the real world, if that makes sense. I'm going to go talk to my thing, get this first quest. So that's kind of how the weapons will go for now, we're thinking. So it's not that, and then how you'll get more damage and how you'll get better weapons is through like crafting them and upgrading them. And then, and that's why no weapon will be necessarily better than another one, is because if you really love this iron greatsword, you can take that iron greatsword and make it better and better and better forever or whatever, and keep it with you for the whole game. You probably would end up finding an iron greatsword that had a higher condition and quality value along the line. But if you kept upgrading this with smithing, it could potentially go up the line with you, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense anyway. That's kind of our thinking for now. And all of that, of course, is subject to change as things go on. So we'll see how that ends up working. And as you can see, my skill has already added 0.04 damage, and it might not seem like a lot, but I haven't done a ton with this yet. And so, you know, I mean, if you look at my, if you look at my skill, like my greatsword skill is only to here, and I've already got 0.4 damage, so it goes up pretty good. And we're gonna have to look into exactly how we want the skills to scale with weapon damage. That'll be another thing we'll tweak. But I think as far as getting a baseline down, that's what we're trying to do here. And the tweaks that we make from here on out will be just, you know, they'll just sort of kind of bring it closer into alignment. They won't change the game as dramatically as we just did here. See, and this greatsword, I don't really like it because I never have stamina, and I miss with this power attack sometimes. I'm not very good with it. Okay. All right. But I'm gonna use it until I get the next weapon that I want to show you guys. So anyway, we'll keep going. The sun is taking forever to rise. So where are we at here? Okay. I'm not even checking to see if I can find better great swords. These guys both have great swords, though. One of them's got to have a better one. I'm gonna die. I didn't. That one's like jammed through that guy's own arm. Look at that one. That one's way better. 24. I'm gonna use that one. And the 24, I still get the 0.5 extra damage. So this actually is a huge increase. This will be a really good weapon for me, a lot stronger than before. And see, and then if we had in crafting, not only that, but I could go and mine some metal right now, and then I could make it even better. And I could get a really powerful weapon. So that's kind of how it works, or how it's going to work for the next little while. But I think it's the basis for. I haven't done that yet, guys. I need to fix the I need to fix the weight, like the how much your magic is influenced by your weapon. Right now, weapons take off too much of the. They take off too much of the effectiveness of the magic. So anyway, hopefully we can fix that. I can. We just need to go through and figure out how we want it to be. I'm thinking this is where the mine is going to be. I've said that a million times, but it's going to be down there. We're going to take those golems out and make it better. So, all right, give me this thing. Now, like I said, the last time I played through this, I shouldn't do that. Sorry, I'm not really trying to speed things up here. I'm just trying to play through it and talk about stuff. Another thing that, I've got another weapon. Another one of the weapons has been reworked. It's not a new weapon that we've added, but it'll be a good discussion point when I get there. So don't let me forget that. But before I talk about that, I wanted to mention Sean has been working on the archive interior, and that has been sweet because I think some people have gotten underneath the archives and looked up into like the web of hallways and stuff that's there. And like, feel free to look at it because it's all changed. Like, it will mean nothing. We've literally gutted out the whole interior, and it's not like that set us back either, because that stuff wasn't really. That was very quickly done, almost haphazardly thrown together. I mean, there was some thought into it, and we took a lot of the what we liked as far as the level design was. And okay, that's good. So it looks like my quest isn't totally broken. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like there were some level design elements on the inside of the archives that we really liked from what you guys can see in your map right now. But we've taken and kept those, but we've changed the whole interior and made it a lot more interesting, a lot better, and really utilized that space a lot more. So that is that's something to yeah, that thing doesn't do anything. So anyway, that's something to look forward to, I guess, when the interior finally does get here, which we're hoping it's not in. I don't know when it will be, but hopefully not like forever away. It won't be. We kind of know when we think it'll be here. But anyway, when it is here, then it will be a lot different from what you guys have seen, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I think it'll be good. It's a good thing. But that's actually another point I wanted to make. Not only have we done that area, but we've also done a lot of like concepting for new areas, and I'm actually going to show you guys one after this. We went through the island and we flew around and we looked for new areas that we thought would be really good. Kind of looked at some of the weaker points on the island where it was boring, or where it needed something to make the island a little more interesting, or where we thought we could add something. Maybe the island wasn't necessarily boring there, but we wanted to add something that would make, a good place. So we went around and did some rough outline, like blockouts of areas that we thought would be pretty cool. So these guys down. Okay, they dropped some axes. These are actually pretty good axes. Okay. So after I'm done talking about all this stuff, I'm going to go fight the skeletons. And after I'm done doing that, I'm going to get the new weapon that's been reworked. And then I'm going to show you guys one of the new areas. But I don't want to give it away. Well, it'll be okay. I doubt very many people will watch this anyway. And it will change, so. What? Oh, I forgot to talk to Mytha again. I'm an idiot. Okay, here we go. All right, the skeleton has been completely the values have been completely changed. He himself is not different. He's the same boss fight. It's just he's been changed to meet the new values of this. So hold on just a second, guys. I gotta check some. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. All right, so let's go down. Let's continue down here. Okay. I'm going to take him down. I'm actually going to go fight. I'm just going to go through here. So the skeleton is not too bad. The map changes were a lot of fun to work on. I hope you enjoy them. I think they'll be pretty fun. Oh, stupid thing. Hold on just a second. It's acting really dumb. My broadcast software. Okay. All right. Sorry, it's the first time everything's set up, so there's like some hitches in my system. I need to get the new microphone holder for sure. All right. Here we go into the pit. I should have got. Oh, I do have that. I do have my light spell, so maybe I'll cast that here. I don't think it'll kill him if I can't even hit him with that. That's a lot harder. It's good though, because the Grace Sword needed to be balanced so bad. It really did. All right. Okay. Now I'm not even, I'm like low on health and everything, so here we go. Chug my potions. That's all I got. Okay, here we go. Oh, whoops. I don't have the icon for that too, so ignore that. Alright. Let's give it a whirl. All the values have been scaled up, so he's a lot harder. He is, well, he's a lot more, he has a lot more hit points. I don't know that he's any harder. If you were good at him before, you'll still be good at him. I think. We really need to get a boss fight song here. And I think the battle music is in the build. I just don't have... Our versions are kind of weird. We don't have everything that we need, so... or everything that we could have, I guess is the way to put it. Where's he going? Oh, yeah, there's another bug. Here, let me get him back fighting me. Come here. I had to change how damage was calculated, and now people... Again, this has been fixed. Fight me. There he goes. That bug has already been fixed. I just don't have the fix for it yet. But it was just, I had to, he did it again. I had to change how, like, the magic damage was calculated, if that makes sense. And so when I did, it changed how the aggro worked. Basically, it made it so that the death blood can hurt the skeleton, and that's obviously not right. So we had to. You'll have that fix for sure. It was just a minor change. There we go. So not too much worse than before. Especially if the skeleton, doesn't even fight you. He spends all his time, but you'll notice that he couldn't hurt the other guy. It was just how magic damage was calculated, really. It's really what it was, so. That's why his magic could hurt him. Oh, he got me with the scythe in the back. So anyway, man, this microphone is killing me. I need my old microphone holder back. I lost it. Now my neck is all scrunched up. I'm actually gonna go. Let's see, where's the sun already set? We didn't even have any daylight. Time of day. 10. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go get the new. See if I can find a new weapon here. How's my skill? Ah, great sword. Plus 1.3 damage on that bad boy. It's looking good. Whoops. I always do that. I haven't even been looking to see if I could find a better greatsword. I have a pretty good one right now, though. Okay. I guess the greatsword's okay. I mean, I'm not very good with him. In other games, Sean, that's all he uses. So we had to get it in for him. Just kidding. No, I think a lot of people really like them. They're really fun. I'm just more of a... I've always played more of like the faster, more agile guys in games, or I've tried to. I think it's fun. Okay. See, that's what's nice about it, though, is you can just take out two guys with them with ease. That's why people like them. Okay, I'm looking pretty good now. Getting set up. Let's just keep going. I'm not going to go kill that guy again. So things that we've been working on, things that we're going to get in for the next. So you're going to get this. The next update's going to be kind of a big one. You're going to get the changes for the balancing update, and that means the new weapon damage values. Oh, okay, so there's something else I need to tell you about the weapons and the armor. It's all been implemented, but it's not being displayed very well. But it's in there. Now, in the game, there are three damage types that melee weapons can deal. There's crushing, slashing, and piercing. And slashing is things like swords and axes. Crushing is things like hammers and maces. And piercing is things like spears and daggers and arrows and things like that. And why this is important to know is because some armors are going to be weak and strong against certain types. So your general armor value... Oh, this guy, I'm lucky I can't die. He has the weapon I want. I gotta get it from him. So your general armor value will reduce all types of damage, all types of melee damage. Melee physical damage. Or not melee, but just physical, like even from arrows and stuff. And then, the damage can further be reduced by a specific damage type reduction. And some armors might have very high damage type reduction, but if they do have damage type reduction to physical damage, they're going, again, there's going to be armors that are sort of the standard, and then other armors will, so like let's just say that like iron chainmail was the standard, and it had the basic damage to weight to whatever. And if you chose to go heavier, you might gain some defenses against certain things, like maybe, you get steel plate mail, and your defense against slashing is like through the roof. And maybe your crushing and piercing are even better, but like you start getting huge penalties to certain magics, like maybe lightning type of magic or storm magic, whatever, it starts doing heavy damage to you. So that's a possibility to think about as well. And we're going to balance all the armors that way. And I'm still thinking on ways I want the armors to scale and to level. Like your skill, what skill might be associated with armors, and I'm not sure how to do that yet. So why I wanted the mace was, and this is going to bring me to another big point, why I wanted the mace is because the mace has new animations associated with it. So I'm just going to do the left click attacks, and he does a figure 8 style attack with a reaching attack on the backhand swing, the second one. So he does a good and a reaching one, if that makes sense. He does a good primary downward strike, and then he does a reaching, stepping forward one. And these animations aren't final. We're getting him into the game. We're working with the animator. He's looking at them and everything. They're not finalized. They're just the rough outlines. So if you see, if they're a little jumpy in places or whatever, they're still going to be smoothed out. And then the power attack is not a slash, because that makes no sense at all with a mace, or a stab with a mace. That doesn't make any sense. It's a upward strike, like a heavy upward strike. So this is the move set that's associated with the mace now, if the mace is in your main hand. And move sets and like the type of, like generally they will be the same for all maces, unless there's some special mace, or maybe there's something else, some other way to change the move set. But generally all maces will have this move set. And so if you like this move set, if it's something that you really like, then the mace might be your weapon. And if you like, for instance, if you like crushing weapons, maces will be there. And this is a nice crushing weapon with a good move set, if that makes sense, if you like the move set. And then, so kind of how this will work is weapon types, move sets, and like the different values and the different things that the weapons add, they all sort of have this relationship. And again, we want to make it so that it makes sense when you're playing it, I guess. And we want to make it so that if you think in your mind, like, I want to do a crushing, build or whatever, but I really like the moveset of this, So there's a good example, actually. Say you really like the moveset of the swords, you really like that stabbing attack. Well, then maybe what we would do, and we've already talked about it, is maybe there would be like a special set of weapons called like the stone set. And it would change the attack type of, or the damage type of the sword to crushing, even though it's a sword, which you would think it would be slashing, but just because of the way it is, it has the move set of a sword, and it is a sword, and you get better at it with your sword skill, but the damage that it deals is not slashing type, it's a crushing type. Just like we might make a mace that is, you know, it is not this flanged mace. I can't even look at it, but it's not that stereotypical flange design. We might put in, like, you know, blades on it, like long slashing blades, so that these attacks are doing more of a slashing, and they're not, and then it would be a slashing style mace. Or we might have one that has, you know, spikes poking out of it, and that might be more of a piercing, or it would do piercing damage. And just the same with, you know, like this long sword. I think it's easier to see, like, this long sword probably does slashing damage because it's a sword, but this move set, you know, you might get a sword that's roughly this shape, and he swings it this way with this move set, but it would do, you know, slash or crushing damage if it were whatever. So move sets and damage types and all that kind of stuff is something that we're wanting to get in place, and we're wanting to make sure that it, you know, works out. And ideally, the original hope, and you know, still down the road, we're not even close to implementing this yet, but I just want to let you guys know that we're still aware of what we've said, is that down the road it may be that having this shield in my left hand might affect the moveset in a small way. You know, like maybe it adds a specific attack that incorporates the shield into the moveset in some way, and whereas if I had, you know, like a axe in my left hand, it would be slightly altered to incorporate the axe, if that makes sense. Again, down the road, because if you think about all the weapons that you have and all the different weapon types and all the different move sets and incorporating all offhand combinations with all main hand combinations, it could get a little wild. So, you know, something to think about, but something we're still thinking about, but something that, you know, we're just focusing on getting the basic move sets for all the different weapon types in at this time. So, first thing that I want to say is why the mace, why we decided to do what we decided to do with the mace. So it's like pretty similar to the sword in terms of speed. It's about as fast as the sword is. You know, these two attacks, you get about as many attacks out as you do with the sword. But it compensates with a slightly higher damage than the sword. It goes from, you know, this one's 12.6 and this one's a 14, so it's not like dramatically different. But it is a different damage type. It's a crushing type, and it also has a really fast. Like the longsword has a really slow wind up on the power attack. He takes a long time. He has to draw it back, and then, you know, it has a good attack once it hits. But the mace has a very rapidly deployed power attack. He just sort of whips it up really quick. And again, this is all subject to change. In fact, we might redo some of the power attack elements on the mace as well. But the mace also has a really good power attack modifier. I think it's better than the swords. So the power attack on the mace does do more damage than I think the swords is a 1.4 and the mace might be a 1.5. I can't remember those exact values, but it's something like that if I recall correctly. And it does that in order to compensate for the fact that it has a smaller reach, particularly with the power attack. The sword's power attack's a nice long stab that reaches deep. And this one's more of a sweeping attack. You know, it doesn't reach as far out, but you'd have better luck, I think, hitting two people with this one than you would with the sword. So that's another thing to think about with. These are all the kind of things I'm talking about that we're thinking about with the relationship of the weapons. So he happens to be a lot stronger than me right now, though. His armor is also really good, so I can't beat him. And I didn't have a shield up. We're also going to rework shields. It might not make it into this patch, but I'm going to rework shields so that they do more reduction. So the blocking is better, frankly. That's really what they need to be. Blocking is just not very good. Like, I think somebody mentioned this on the forums a while ago. They were kind of commenting on how their shield, it was hard for them to get an attack in ever because their shield, even though, you know, the attacks bounced off of it, they could get in like one attack, but it still wasn't even very good because they still took so much damage through their shield. And that's definitely true. I mean, you probably shouldn't take... I think right now the wooden shield only blocks like 65% of the damage, but it should probably block closer to maybe like 90%, or at least high 80s, so... And you can definitely tell that the mace has a shorter attack, but it does have that nice, I think the power attack is a little more, it's nicer in close combat. Oftentimes with the sword, the long sword, you'll miss them, and you'll have that, you'll have a long, like a long cooldown, basically, where if you miss them, you don't. And I find that in close combat, I don't miss with the mace's power attack nearly as often. It's a little more reliable. So, different move set. I think it's good to have these different move sets because it gives people a choice on what kind of weapon they want to use, and that's really what we're going for, if that makes sense. So the axes still need a new move set. The spears need their move set modified and improved. Those ones might need it the most. Actually, the spears are kind of funny right now, and they need a good move set. I have a couple of good ideas for how I want this. I think the spears could be improved. And then the armors and their different, how much the armors and how much like damage they block and the different weapon types or the damage types. So that's all stuff. We're going to need to modify the UI so that it can display some of these things, and we'll probably not display all of it right up front. You might have to like right click and say inspect or something like that to get all this information so that it's not so, I don't know, it's kind of, we don't want to be too overwhelming with how much information we just like blast you with a player. We want to make it so it's really easy to pick up a weapon, notice that it does, 14 damage, and say, okay, 14 is higher than 10, so I'm going to use that if that's what you want, or I like the move set of this one, so I want to use that, or, I think axes are cool, so I want to use those. But then, I guess our goal is that as the player gets more into it and the introduction is very easy, but then you realize, hey, my weapon isn't doing very much damage to this guy, why? And then you finally end up killing him, and you look at his armor and you realize, oh, his armor is really high against crushing type damage, and that's what I was doing with my mace. And so, you might look into it and say, like, well, maybe I better have a backup weapon, or I don't know, whatever we decide to do, or whatever you decide to do on how to handle that. Certainly, I don't think anyone will be, like, fully immune to any type of thing. So, like, it's always possible for you to get your, attacks through. It's always possible to win, but I guess the goal is that you'd have a lot easier time of it if you maybe, like, looked into it more and figured out a better way. And that's kind of how we've wanted it to be since the beginning, where you had to, approach the challenges and then discover what would be the best way to do it. Like, for one example I think of that is, like, I think it would be neat if the skeleton guy in there, and all skeletons in general, had like a pretty big weakness to crushing, right? Because, like, bones, if you think about it, you can't really, like, cut a bone. I don't know if you've, like, ever cut up like a piece of meat or a steak or something. Like, if you try and cut a bone, it doesn't do anything. But if you take a hammer to a bone, and you can just splinter it, or like piercing a bone, if you try to shove the tip of your knife through a bone, it's never going to go, or it'd be very difficult. But so it might have like skeletons or bone. If maybe you had bone armor made of bone, it might have not a very high. Maybe it doesn't have a super high normal. It could be very light. It might have an okay armor value. Maybe just a little below average or something like that. But then it has this really high resistance to slashing and piercing. But then if somebody, takes crushing weapon to you, then you might as well be wearing nothing. It just destroys you. So that would be a great example, actually, on how we hope that it works. And bone armor would be, like, not a very general type of armor. It would be a very specific type. Like, you'd have to go out of your way and like, the average player wouldn't just get bone armor handed to them right at the beginning, right? It might be something that they would have to, like, try to work up to getting, and it would be specific, or maybe you'd fight a guy with it initially, and that's kind of how it would work. So, if that makes any sense. Hey, my wife just showed up. How are you? good. She dropped off my dog, so I have to watch him this afternoon. But anyway, I'm going to. Okay, are you just gonna head out? Okay, I'll see you back at home in a little while. Love you. See you, honey. All right. So, anyway, so if that makes sense with how armors are going to be, then that's kind of what we're thinking right now. So, like a lot of armors, like leather armor, would be a general type of armor. It wouldn't have very many it wouldn't have super high resistances towards any of those types or super big deficiencies. It would just sort of be a general light armor, and then like, iron armor would be a similar in sort of a similar situation as that. And then you could find more specific armors that did more specific things, if that makes sense. And it might be, beneficial for you to look into armors that had good resistances to the type of people that you wanted to beat. So maybe if you met a guy with a big crushing weapon, that guy owned me. If you met a guy with a big crushing weapon, then it might be good for you to, find the armor that would help save you through that or whatever. Just different things. So anyway, all right. Well, hopefully that was a good discussion, or a good explanation of what we were thinking. Right now, the mace is gonna be the next one to get the new move set. I think after that, we'll probably either do the axes or something like that. Oh, Sean, you got out. Will you go get him? Sorry, my dog's escaping. Anyway. So, all right. Well, I'm going to show you guys something really quick. And there's not a lot of people actually here, so I don't know if anyone will ever see it. But they'll wish they had, I think. So if you're here and you're seeing it, then that'll be good for you. I'm going to actually show a little bit about some of the stuff we've been working on. I'm going to run through one of the things that we were looking at. So it'll be fun. And hopefully, and understand everything that you see is like just sort of, it's the equivalent of a concept. And some of it I've had more work has been put into it than other things. But for the most part, the area that I want to show you right now is going to be a little more. It's a little more sure that it's going to make it in as it is than other areas because we put a little more work into it, if that makes sense. But again, it won't look like what you'll see. It's heavily concept. It's just a block out. Hopefully that makes sense. Just loading it up, guys. Takes forever. Just give it a second. It'll load. It'll load. Eventually. I should show you guys our new office. Maybe sometime. Our new office is ridiculous. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm actually just going to I'm going to go about it this way. It's a little weird here. Let's see, what am I at? Yeah. All right. So this is perfect. I'm in the town. Let's get rid of the console here. Okay. So Sean is with me. He's just sitting next to me, though. He's not going to say anything. I'm going to show you these areas. Hold on. This microphone is killing me. So here we are in the town. Oh, actually, Sean, I got to show him. We have a potential name for the town. No one's ever commented on this, but we just call it the town. You guys have never said, like, why don't you name the town? Sarandrell. Yeah, haven't you guys noticed that we're really not creative with names? It's hard for us to name stuff. So I think Sarandrell is going to be the name. What do you guys think about that? Sarandrell. We'll see if it sticks. You don't know what that is, though. Okay. Okay. All right. Here we are. So you're in Sarandrell. You know, it's a nice late summer day. Clouds over the sky, sun shining. It's a nice day to wear nothing but your underwear to walk around the middle of town. And yeah, exactly. And then, the captain of the guard agrees with you, and she thinks that she should only wear her underwear as well. So right now, hopefully, you guys have already can tell that things are different. And all this stuff placed around, ignore that. Yeah, don't think about that. So hopefully, you guys are recognizing what's been changed. But here we go. So, as you guys know, the storyline associated with the town Sarandrell is that it is the newer town. It's new, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but these walls, they're not like the rest of the town. See them? They're like all old and made out of rocks, and then like the rest of the town's all made out of wood. And they've even built up this new wooden portion up to the walls. And then out here in front of the town, now there's something new. And you can see it's going, again, please forgive that it's totally a block out. It won't look like this. Only that it will be a ruined style place. And here we go. This is the ruins of the old Sarandrell. Or maybe we'll do something clever and call it like Sarenrail or something like that. Anyway, old Sarandrell. And here you go. This is what the area is. And kind of imagine, if you will. And so I hope I'm not ruining it. If I'm ruining the illusion, you guys just want to wait until you can see the final thing. Yeah, exactly. If you don't want to see it, until it's completely done, then just stop watching. But imagine, if you will, it's actually properly designed, and there is like overgrowth, and they don't come in here because it's all old and ruined or whatever. But that's going to be how it is. And you'll notice that it's a lot tighter quarters. You can't really, it's like it's been sunken down in. There's like places to go, but it's all ruined and opened up, and there's things you can look at and see. And this is kind of the design of this place. It was old. It was once grand and nice, but now it's all old and gone. So that makes sense. Destroyed. And I'm not going to maybe I will actually. Remember, it's all going to change, but this is going to be something for you guys that you'll have to come in here and take your own time exploring and figuring out. I'm just going to show you guys a ground view of it, actually. So you'll look around and you can see there's actually stuff all around. When we release this, it's high up. There's places to go, there's things to do. This is just going to be a tease. But you guys will have to spend some time in here. And this area is quite large, and it's pretty interesting. There's a pretty cool storyline associated. And if you also have noticed, I don't know if you did, but you'll also have noticed that it actually leads you over to be by the graveyard also had these older style ruin type of things going on. So anyway, there you go. There's something to think about. There's the new area, and I will say that it is blocked out, and you can go up there. I won't show you how. It's kind of a challenge to get up there, but it is possible to get up there. And then I'm just going to show you fly around. It's possible, especially if you have developer cheats. No, but it's possible without them. So this area is large, and there's lots of stuff to do in there. I walked through it, but there's more to do there. This is a little bit of an overhaul too of the golem area. I'm trying not to show off too much, but you can get through here. Remember, these are all just we blocked out the path that the people will take, or that potential paths that people could take. So when we actually come through, these are the kind of areas that will actually get built a lot faster and be a lot easier for us to design than the archives, because, well, there's a million reasons why it would be easier. But after the archives interior is done, and after we have more, like the storyline is brought up to that point or close to that point. Art-wise, I guess it doesn't really matter. But anyway, at that point, then we'll start. Yeah, at that point, then we'll start putting some of these areas in. Maybe we'll try to get one in every week or two, and then the storyline associated with them will be interesting for you guys to participate in. But it's pretty cool. These areas are pretty fun. We've put some thought into them, I guess, and hopefully we made them a little more interesting than just your run-of-the-mill area. We've had to strip the vegetation out in a lot of these to do it, and that when that all gets replaced and everything, the